anxiety, you have content in the heart. Ask any Muslim.
I have Muslim friends, and I discuss
Ask them.
Yeah.
When you read the Quran, when you remember Allah, how do you feel? They will say, our hearts are so content. The tranquility and content that you'll have in Islam when you become a Muslim, you realize you lose nothing. You don't lose Christ as the messenger of God.
When I become a Muslim,
You don't lose Moses as the messenger of God. You gain them all, because these are all prophets and messengers of the same God. What happened was,
Are all these messengers equal? Like Moses
we make no
has-
distinction between them. Quran says us, لا نفرق بين أحد من رسله. We make no distinction between them. God has favored some of the others. Like God spoke to Moses directly, but he hasn't spoken to every prophet directly. So some prophets and messengers, God has specific privileges.
So if Jesus is a prophet, has specific privilege? or
No, I'm saying some prophets, God has given some fadl. This differentiation over the others is up to God. It's up to God whether if God takes one of his prophets from this earth to all the way up above the seven heavens to God himself, and then has a discussion, and personal one-to-one discussion. So, okay, this is my revelation to you. Not all prophets had that discussion. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was taken from this earth
Do you
to this.
believe in Islam that you can hear God by reading Quran?
Yeah, God is speaking. The Quran is unadulterated, unchanged
But do you have
speech of
personal
God.
relationship with God?
Yeah, absolutely. This personal relationship is so close. God tells us he's closer than our jugular vein. You cannot get any closer than
in
that.
Quran it says
In other religion,
839
in other religion,
in the war.
listen, Daily, you have to
Kill
go
the
through
infidels.
middleman.
In
You have to
Quran
go through this man.
572.
Like in Christianity, Jesus Christ says, no one goes to the Father except through me. He's the middleman. To us, you don't need a middleman. You go to God directly. You say, God. You don't say, oh, Jesus, can you ask God X, Y, and Z? You don't do that. That's indirect relationship. The direct relationship is when you ask God and God answers you.
Can I ask?
So you are going to heaven or hell?
Do you, for example,
According
in,
to Allah.
like when you're meeting, yes, gathering in mosques, do you are your leaders, for example, praying for healing for people? Like how do you see healing in Quran?
When you are at any distress and you stand in prayer, your heart and your emotions, they are tuned back to reality. Yeah, God tells us the mechanism how to heal. So there are times where we will be grieving, we will be emotionally upset and so on. But there's a mechanism in which when we remember Allah, when we stand with patience to
Trust
Allah,
God, yes?
trust, reliance, trust, and you remember Allah with patience, and you stand to Allah, speak to Him directly.
Is Allah healing physical illness also? Like is He healing cancer? Is He healing?
No. What I'm saying is Allah can heal anything.
Okay.
A cancerous patient, He can heal. But we don't go about like Christians do. Oh, there you go. Let me go to the hospital and cure. Because if I actually work in a hospital,
Oh, do you?
if I ask, bring your healers and cure those people with cancer, you would fail. I can challenge you. Okay. Who wants to accept that challenge? Do you know anyone in your church who can heal? Then come to my hospital and heal those
I would like
children.
to come.
Right, come.
Where?
I will tell you off camera.
Okay.
Right? You can come to this hospital and see if he can cure. Because if he can cure, good. But I know from experience, the number of people I've spoken to, the healers, that when it comes to practical demonstration of healing, they don't do that. They only do on stage, on TV. These are called TV healers and so on and so forth. Not in real life. So
But I wanted to ask about specific about Islam and Quran. How do you deal with that? Where is in Quran are the scriptures, for example, about the healing? Like obviously, I understand
yeah,
that
Quran says
when
the
you
Quran
read the
itself
truth,
has
the truth-
shifa fi sudur. The Quran itself says it itself is a shifa, a medicine, a cure.
Oh yes, okay,
Yeah.
okay, I understand.
Yeah.
And for example, if you have like terminal illnesses, like somebody's dying of cancer, obviously you work in the hospital, so you've seen a lot of this. So what are you as a like Muslim minister doing? for
Muslim
those
chaplains
people?
can go there,
Okay.
and then they can remind them of God, write
Do
to
you
them.
healing or how do you do that?
No, I'm saying the chaplains, who's their official job for that, they can go to a terminally ill patient, and they can remind them of God and read the Quran, and it will help soothe and settle their heart. we have seen many examples in which a baby, for example, crying so much, put the Quran on,
Same thing.
comes.
Same thing.
Totally
happened
come.
in the Bible.
So basically,
We will see.
that's how.
So how the Quran affects even a child.
Bible
Like imagine
changes the
he's
life from inside
so
out,
much,
not
and this. Put the Quran on, you will see the effect it has. So the Quran has such a powerful effect on the heart. It changes life altogether. When you read the
For
Quran,
example, if somebody is lying in coma in the hospital, so do you send like your minister will go there to like what they do?
depends on the
Pray
wishes
for
of the
people?
patients and parents.
Okay, so if they
It
want,
depends on their wishes. Because comatose, they are not able to speak to you what they need. So if relatives wants a Muslim chaplain to go there and then speak to them and so
what
on.
do they do? Like what do you do in that
told you.
instance? Do you pray over them? Do you?
To you,
read
you may
the
have a
Quran?
prescribed. To you, you may have a prescribed mechanical prayer. To us, the Quran itself is healing. So all they need to do is at that point, while he's comatose or she's comatose, to remind them that they should remind themselves that there is none worthy of worship except Allah and Muhammad is the messenger of Allah. To keep reminding them until their life is expired from this world. So this is the most important because you need to die on the faith in which you have not associated a partner with God, you have not rejected, I'm just telling you, you want to end your life from this world when the time comes, not yourself, but time will come, you will die. No one can forward it an hour or delay it an hour or a second. Our death is fixed. So when that time comes, we want to make sure that we die on a state of worshipping none but God. So you have to make sure that you believe only God is worthy of worship and no one else.
Like specific scenario, yes. Like somebody who is a Muslim is lying in coma in the hospital, yes. And what in Muslim faith, what do you do for those people?
I just told you. The Muslim chaplains
yes,
can have a whole program of what to read, but the most important fact is to remind
but how
that
can you
individual.
remind a person who is in coma, for example? Like,
They can still hear you.
Yes, but do they go there and read Quran, or do they lay hands on the person? Do they pray for the person? How does it
No,
work?
I'm just telling you. It all depends. If the family is happy, for example, the imam, the Muslim chaplain, whether she's a woman or a man, they can go there and start reading the Quran or many supplications from the Quran and the authentic hadith teachings of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But most importantly, out of all that, as someone is about to die, it's important to remind them to die while reciting, saying in the heart, in the tongue, or in their mind, this statement of faith. لا إله إلا الله محمد رسول الله وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمد رسول الله, that I bear witness there's nothing, no deity worthy of worship except God, Allah alone, and I bear witness that Muhammad is the messenger of Allah. Because once you die on that faith, Jahannam, which is what? Hell, is forbidden. God would not put you into hellfire. Even if you did something wrong and you are punished in hellfire, eventually you will come out and you will be, through the mercy of God, through the grace of God, to paradise, which He is prepared for those who have the correct belief in Him. Anyone who believes that God is a tripod or a camera or a tree or a woman or a man, rat, monkey, whatever, God will not put them into paradise, because God says He forgives all sins except one. Imagine the grievous sin that one can commit, and if they die on that, God will never forgive. He warns again and again. The most grievous, the magnanimous sin in the sight of God that He will never forgive is associating partner with God, like a son or a daughter or a brother or a mother or anything of the creation. You have to worship God alone because He is one and only and self-sufficient. That was the message of all the prophets and all the messengers. Nothing new in Islam in terms of this message. So we have to make sure when we die, and we don't know when we're going to die. I can die the next minute, you can die the next minute. But we have to make sure that we die in the state of submission to our God, worshipping Him alone. That is the message of Islam. Your heart will be cured in this life if you believe in that already, because it will manifest to you on your actions, how you feel, happy and joy and no anxiety, no depression. That's why if you think about suicides, do you know who is committing suicide in the largest numbers? not the Muslims. What ignorance in your mouth? It's not Muslims. It is those people who are atheists and nihilists and so on. If you go there in some Eastern countries and so on and so forth, because for them, material world is not.
They rejected God, and
Yes. That's why their depression is so much, because they have nothing. When they realize what awaits them, nothing. When they die, nothing. Absolutely, and they get so much depressed in this nihilism that they suffer this anxiety. So that's why when you have the belief in your heart that God alone is worthy of worship, you will feel so much tranquility in your heart. And when you reject any associates with God and say nothing worthy of worship, and that's why you'll be interested to find out in Islam, when somebody wants to become a Muslim, they go through a process of negation and affirmation. Negation is nothing is worthy of worship. Stone, tree, man, whatever you can imagine, nothing is worth worship. And then you make an affirmation. Only God. When you do that, you automatically realize, I am not going to be a slave to economic machinery. I am not going to be a slave to my desires. I'm not going to be a slave to fashion. I'm not going to be a slave to football stars and pop stars and celebrities. You will only be a slave to God alone.
Yes, I agree on that one. 100%. Yes. I'm gonna read because I want to get familiar with the.
Sure.
I can't.
Pleasure speaking to you.
More.
Apologies when we kept on because of the hecklers. This sometimes can be heated like this. But please reflect and read the Quran.
I will.
Yeah. Find out what is about the concept of God, about Christ, about the mother of Christ.
I have a Muslim friend, so I speak with them about God. I was working with Muslim people, so we discussed this, and I was asking about Jesus. So my friend was sending me some stuff about this to watch, and I want to just get to.
Because if you really want the personal relationship and this happiness in the heart,
I have that happiness.
No.
I have that happiness.
I'm not saying you don't, but when you have the Quran and read and understand, and then you authentically worshipping God alone, your level of happiness will be elevated.
And I agree with you that only God can be worshipped, nothing else.
Exactly.
I 100% agree with that.
Exactly.
Yes.
You take care.
You take care. Thank you.
Thank you.
Also, listen to the Quran.
Say it again.
I can make a picture with you.
That was the Hecklers one.
I don't speak to hecklers.
Sava, maak eens een foto van ons.
Not interested. Not interested. Not interested. Not interested.
Not interested in debating any regular Christian.
I'm not interested in talking to you right now. That's what I'm saying. I am not interested in talking to you. I don't want you to be a mediator for anything.
You don't want to debate Christians who are not visitors.
You misunderstood.
You want to debate visitors.
Can I give this to give it to
May Allah bless your family.
Thank you, you too. Shukran.
They were jealous, asking how many. They were jealous.
I don't care.
Christian population is dying.
Yeah.
Muslim population is growing up.
Just like
They're jealous. They're jealous.
Mansur, can we make a picture if you want? Yeah? Take me.
Yeah, really. Yeah. This came out like maybe 15 minutes ago.
Very interesting.
Computer What country have you
Excuse me, brother. Which one is yours?
Give it to me, all of them. No, brother, you have to pay us.